Yeah. Hello everyone. Yeah, guys. How many of you completed this task, guys? GitHub. GitHub search task. Yeah, only two people, guys. Anil and Manas. What about remaining guys? Even if you done half, it's okay. But I just want how many of you started and still doing that task. Same task in React. In last session, I have shown you, right, how to integrate Bootstrap with React. Now, functionality, anybody try to develop that functionality? So functionality was right. Here, suppose if I'm searching any users uh, details by typing username. Just enter the username of GitHub and click on this search. The moment I click on search, that user details you have to display here. That users details we have to display here. Okay. So let me just come back here. Let me just copy this code. Okay. So here we have integrated Bootstrap, right? Here we have integrated our Bootstrap. So what I want to do is here I just wanted to add one link called GitHub. So maybe under components, under nav, we can just add one link here called GitHub. So I will remove this users from here and simply I will add here GitHub. Something like GitHub. And if I just save it and if I go back here, here we got that link called GitHub. Now, if I click on this GitHub, I should be able to see here this kind of structure that I have opened, right? This structure we should be able to see. So how many of you developed at least user interface design part in React?
I have completed, sir, this one.
Pardon?
I have completed this task, sir. I am able to fetch the data and show whatever you given, sir.
Nice. So is it possible to share
Yeah,
screen?
yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can share and you can show the output so that people will come to know how to do the things.
Okay, sir. I think I'm not able to share, sir. Host disable participant screen sharing, sir.
Let me just enable it. Yeah, now you can.
Yeah. My screen visible too?
Yes, yes, that's visible.
Yeah, so that will-
Oh, browser, are you showing browser? Browser is not visible.
Let me share again. Yes, sir, I'm sharing the browser.
So just do one thing, just stop sharing and reshare it, okay? And while sharing, just select the
Yeah,
option.
actually, full screen is not given to me. So just I am sharing like the Chrome
Yeah,
only. No, Chrome I think is visible, right?
yes, it's not visible.
Yeah. So like here I have developed this. So if you enter any name,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm sharing my name,
Mm-hmm.
and if we click, then I got like this,
Nice. Can you just enter your Microsoft as a username?
like this,
Hmm. Nice. Click on search.
like this.
You got Microsoft details. Okay. Nice.
Mhm.
Nice. Yeah, you can stop sharing.
Another task also you given, so like is a Flipkart one. So I have designed
Then,
that application.
yeah, sure. Can you show that part as well?
So this is a Flipkart one.
Nice. Okay. So remaining things I will upload screenshots, then you can just develop that part as well.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. I think Harish also done, right? Yeah, Harish, you want to share?
Yes,
Yeah, share it.
yes. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's not yet visible. Yeah, I think your internet issue it might be.
Yeah,
Are
I
you
think
using mobile
system
hotspot?
is
Yeah.
no.
Mhm.
I think it's a bit slow. The laptop seems to be slow.
Okay. Just let's wait for 1 minute in case if it is giving same issue. Yeah, now you can show. Okay. This
Yeah,
is a
this I'm just trying. Like I didn't finish it yet,
okay.
but this git search reset 5 and 7.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you can search for same Microsoft once. What here? All the Microsoft details. Yeah, nice. Yeah, you can
Published.
start. Yeah. Anybody else, guys, who wants to share the screen and want to show any output if you have done? Okay. So what you guys have to do is next part, whenever you are working on that home page. So after designing that header part, then you have to add this carousel. But right now I did not taught you about the carousel in Bootstrap. So right now what you guys can do is just simply add one image like this. So after this part, after your header part, after your nav bar and this part, you have to just add right now one simple image. So once I teach you about the carousel, then you can add that carousel component in your at this place. So once you have done with this, then you have to add next to this part. So here I'm just adding all these screenshots here. This is what you have to add here. And next one is this part. So you can choose whatever images you want to choose. And this section you can repeat multiple times, like more 2 times you can repeat it, but just changing the position of this image and the content. So in the next section, see, design is same, just image is on the right side, content is on the left side. Before that, image was on the left side and content was on the right side. Like this, you can just add 3, 4 sections. Section 1, section 2, section 3, and then your footer section. So like this, if you do, just at least a basic home page will be ready. A basic home page will be ready. Okay. Now in this, here we got GitHub, right, guys? So how many components you have took for this particular GitHub search in React? In how many components you have divided your UI? The people who are done. So how you guys have done it? Can you guys explain? Three components. So three components for search, profile, and details. Yeah.
Sorry, is my voice audible?
Yes, it's audible.
Yeah. 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 I took one like a home component as a whole section, and in that I created like three child components like profile, profile details, and search.
Okay.
And I implemented using props like the text box value that is passed. I using props, I pushed it back to the home component where I'm using that parameter and fetching the response from the GitHub API and
Mm.
passing that response object to the profile and profile details component where I use to display the data.
Okay. So basically what we can do is we can have one home component, GitHub home component, and under that GitHub home component, we can render three more component, GitHub search, GitHub profile, and GitHub details. It means totally we have to create four components. We have to create GitHub home, GitHub search, GitHub profile, and GitHub details. And in GitHub search, we have to design only this part. Only this part we have to design. This title, this text box, and this button. That's it. In GitHub profile, you have to design this card. Left side card you have to design. And in GitHub details, you have to design this part. You have to design this part. And then all these components you have to render in the home component, For this, you can use your GitHub GitHub Bootstrap grid, or you can use CSS grid to create the layouts. So if I go back here under my components or under SRC directly, I will create here one subfolder called GitHub. Under that, I will create home.jsx file, search.jsx file, profile.jsx file, and you have details.jsx file. Now we have four files under GitHub folder: details, home, profile, search. Now under home, I will create one home component. So here we have a home component. Under details, we will have a details component. Under profile, we will have a profile component. Under search, we will have a search component. And just save it. Here also save, here also save, here also save. All we have saved it. Now in search component, in search.jsx file, we have created search component. In search component, what we wanted this design. Okay, to create this kind of design, in last session, we have done using our Bootstrap, right? So if I just go to that code, under AIT, we have main session. Under that, morning, and this is our React. So if I just right click, open with Visual Studio. So here it is opened. So what I can do here is, can we create like this? Can I just copy this 2 rows? We have to copy from here, column 4, and we have button also. Till here we have to copy. Now here I have to add it now. So here I will just take this class as a container, and here I will add it. Now save it. Now search component, let's try to render in the home component here. So just import home component. Import search component in the home component. Now here, if you want, you can take a container. In that 2 rows, I will take row 1, row 2. Now in row 1, I will render search component. I will render a search component. So what we did in the search component, we have just pasted the code. I have just pasted the code that is required. That is required for creating that text box and button and that title UI. Now this home component we have to configure in our routes. So in app.jsx, here we can import GitHub home from /github/home. And this I want to render somewhere here. So by creating some path here path, I will add GitHub, and here your GitHub home. Now if you save it and go back here, now see here we got this GitHub home, we got it. Now here, if you want that decrease width, all that you can add it. So here, what is this classes you have taken? Just copy it and paste inside your home.jsx container. So we got here like this GitHub search. Now next one is profile. Okay, I will close search. I will close app. I will just open that profile. Now in the profile, we want this code, profile code we want. So that profile code is this one. Under column 8, we have this part. So from column 8 to, not here, let me scroll down here. So we have row, we have column 4, and under that we have created our card. So this card we required. Just I will copy the card code. Apart from that, nothing. So we can go back to profile, and here we can add that card code as it is. Right now, just everything is hard coded as it is profile card code we are adding. Now go back to the home. Here import profile component. Now already here we have second row. In this, I can create column 4 and column 8. In column 4, we will render profile component. So here we got a profile component. In column 4. And if I go back to the profile, here also we have a card, card header, card body like this. What is the next one? What we have to do? In the details, we have to add details code. So again, go back to that GitHub. Now here this UL part. If I just copy it and go back to my home, or if you go back to details first, here we can paste it. We have pasted. Now again in the home, we can import details now. Now that details we will render here in the column 8. If I go back here, now I got this one. So here we have designed this with React and this was with HTML. But here see, card, here card is coming very small. So let's see if we have done something wrong here with the profile. Width is 100%, card is done. Here also we have taken call -4. So row 1, so here we have taken column 4, column 8. Here we got this part. Now here if I type something and click on this search, from here we have to send the request to your GitHub server. So for this in search component, what you will do? In search component, I will maintain one state here. It means I need to create one state. Okay. Now what we are going to do means, now we have this GitHub search component. We have GitHub search component. And here we have one text box and one button. We have one text box and we have one button. Now in this component, we will maintain one state here. We will maintain one state. We will maintain one state here. Now whatever user is typing in this text box, user is typing in this text box, that content we will try to add inside our this text box. Whatever user is typing in the text box, that content we will try to add inside this state, So for this, we required a state. So that state we are creating here. So for that, we have to import use state. Then you have to call that use state. It will return one array. By default, it will be in that I will add empty string. And here we can get username, comma set username. So state is created. Now, whatever you will type in the text box, that data you should add inside this state. So for this, what we can do, we can add here on change event. So whenever on change event gets triggered, we want to call one function. In that function, we will take event object, and here simply we will call set username. And to that set username, we will pass event.target.value. Event.target.value. Now, whatever you will type in the text box, that data will be stored. That data will be stored in that state, And whenever you click on this button, whenever we click on this button, we want to call a function that is get data or get user details. Now, if you want that get user details, you can design here itself. That function you can design here itself. But if you try to design that function or implement that function here, then this file might look little complex. So what we can do is one more way. In the same GitHub folder, I can create one service file, service.js file. Okay, remember I am not creating a JSX file. I am creating one JS file. Okay. And in this JS file, I am creating a function here. Const get user details. Inside this function, I want to write the logic to send a request to a server. It means I required here one Axios. So I will import Axios. So here I will write the logic to fetch the data, to fetch user data from GitHub server. Now the function is in different file, that is service.js. Component is in service.jsx. In that we have a button. So now my requirement is whenever I click on this button, I want to call the function which is defined inside service.jsx. Button is in search.jsx and your function is in service.js. So how to call this service.js function in search.jsx file? Anybody knows how to call it? Understood the scenario, guys? First of all, if I want, I can implement this function, get user details, in my search.jsx file only. But if I implement here, now this file might look little complex. So to keep this file little simple, what I did, I created a separate file called service.js. Now in that service.js, I have created a function called get user details. Get user details. And in this function, I want to write the logic to fetch the user data from the GitHub server. Now the question is how to call this function? On click of button which is present in search.jsx file. What I have to do, guys, for this?
First, I think export the service.js.
Okay, so from here, this function I have to export. Let's assume that I have exported. Okay, then.
Import in the search component.
Yes, we have to import in this search component. Here, what was the push get user details? Okay, I have imported it.
Now create one function when like we get the user data, and inside that we call the search in service.js.
Can we call here directly like this?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. But if you call like this, okay, we can call it. Okay, so let's see first whether we are able to call or not. Just to check, I'm adding alert and I'm saying working. Now, if I go back here and if I click on this button, I got here working. So successfully we are able to call. Now in this function, now the design is like this. You have here search component. You created one service here. So from this component, you're calling this service. You're calling this service. Now what this service should do, it should send one request to a backend development or backend application. Now that backend application will give all the details to you. But remember, if you're sending the request from this service, then the response will come here only. The response or data will come here only. Somehow from here, again, we have to send back to the component. We have to send back it to the component. Okay. So here you will have, let's assume that GitHub server. You have here GitHub server. So from our component, we are calling this service. From service, we need to send the request to a GitHub server. GitHub server will send some data back to the service. Remember, it will come back to the service. And from here, somehow we have to send the data to the component. So that component will display that data. But that data, do you want to display in the search component or some other components? Where you are trying to.
Yeah, some other component. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is how to share it. How you will share?
I think we can store the data in some state. Receive the data from the server and store some state, and we can use that in any component.
Okay. Yeah. But there is one more challenge here. Now, in first step, you have to send that username because username is present in the state, right? In the state of this component. Here, username is present. Here you are writing the logic to send the request. Now to send the request, we require this username. So how you will send this username from this component to this service? Because this service wants to send some request to a server, GitHub server. Now to send that request, we require the username. That username is present in the state of the component, Now the question is how we can pass this username from this component to this service.
We have to create state objects, right?
State object already we created, right? State we created already. And already in that state we have the data, right? So the question is how to pass this state data to the service.
And
Okay.
As a prop to that get user details method.
But get user details is not a component, right? It is just a function, normal function. So in this search, in this state, you have the data. Here you are storing the data. In service.js, here you are going to write the logic to send a request to a server. Okay. So how to do? For that, we will use axios.get. Here we have to send the URL. Okay. So that URL is you can get from the api.github.com. So here I will copy that URL. This is the URL. I will copy and I will go back here and I will paste here. Okay. Now here we have to send the username. In this place, we have to send the username. But where is this username? This username is here in this state. How in this state that username is present? Because whenever user will type here something, right? Whenever he types, suppose here I am typing like Kabir. Whenever I type this Kabir, Kabir we are storing inside our state. Now that Kabir, somehow we have to pass here. In this URL, we have to pass that Kabir here. So in this URL, if you want to pass the Kabir, then obviously that Kabir data should be available to this function. Now the question is how you will give that Kabir data as the input to this function.
So this is a, I think, JavaScript file. So can we pass as when we calling this function, we pass the value as attribute.
We should use as a path parameters, use parameters from React.
No, use parameters. Why? So basically to this function, we have to pass input data, right? Suppose here I am passing username. Okay, here I can say that username. Now here I will keep it, I will take this in the backticks because here I want to pass dynamic data. Yes. Now whenever I am calling this function, I have to pass one argument because here I have taken a parameter and that parameter I am using in this URL. So whenever I call this function from wherever I call that function, so right now I'm calling that function here. Now, whenever we are calling this function to this function, we have to pass one argument, and that argument should be your username. Now, the question is, how can we pass here that argument? So here directly we cannot pass. So for this, what we can do is simply here we can define a method called getUser. Now that getUser function I will define here. So whenever I click on that button, this function will be called. Inside this function, I will call now get user details. And here I will pass this username. Now instead of writing a lot of logic, you have just written a simple logic. Now the logic will be like this. Whenever you click on this button, this get users function will be called. This function will be called. And internally, this function will call your get user details. And to that get user details, we are passing the username which we are storing in the state. Now here in the service.js, this get user details will be called. And whatever username we are passing as an argument, that will be stored inside this parameter. This parameter we are adding in this URL. It means the moment this function is called, internally we are doing axios.get. Now what axios.get will do, it will send a request to a GitHub server, and from that GitHub server, data will come to this particular Axios. Now can you guys tell me how the data will come to this Axios? How data will come to the Axios? So from here you have implemented your Axios logic. From here, we are sending the data to the server. We are sending that a request to this server. This server is going to send some response back to us. Now response will come to this Axios. Now what Axios will do? Axios will create one promise object. Yes, it will create one promise object. In that promise object, it will store the data, and then that promise object will be returned. So this axios.get is going to return one promise object. So we can handle that promise object here. If I want, I can handle here. Or else what I can do is I can return from here. If I want, I can return from here. I can return from here. And that promise I can handle here. I can handle here. So we have multiple ways. If you want, you can handle here itself. In the service only, you can handle itself. Or else Axios is going to give you promise object. Now you can return that promise object from here. So that promise object you have to handle in the get users. Now here, let me just try whether I'm getting the data or not. So here I will just take then and call back. Here some error. Console.log off. I will say error. Here username. Not username. Here I will take response. And let me just do console.log of response. Okay, let's see now whether we are getting the details or not. I will just right click, go to the inspect, to the terminal. Now here search for Microsoft. And if I click on search, now see here we got data. And under that data, we got all Microsoft details. So here, if you want, you can just say response.data. I will search for Apple. Now here we got all the details related to Apple. All the details we got related to Apple. See, name is the Apple. They have 279 public repository like this. Some details we got related to Apple. Okay. So now the data is coming to search component. Data came back to the search component. Now somehow this data, is my voice audible, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Somehow this the data came to the search component. It means data is with this component. Now somehow what you have to do is this data, search component data, you have to share with GitHub profile. This data you have to give to the profile. This data you have to give to the details. Now the question is how? How you will share the data? So the people who are already done, what is the flow you have applied? How did you share the data from GitHub?
Actually, I have called the service in the GitHub home and the share the data by using the props.
Acha. So then this username you have passed from here to here.
Yeah.
So for that, what approach you have followed to pass the username from GitHub search to home? How did you pass that username from search component to GitHub home component?
Actually, we created the services and service I have imported in the GitHub and pass the data to the service services.js and the return we got the response in the github.com.
Okay. Yeah. Any other approach anyone followed? Yeah, Redux if you use, it's very easy. Redux once Redux already implement. You can use Redux. You can use context API also. You can use props also. Okay. Any other way, guys? Anybody knows any other way? Okay. So we have one more way. So that way we will discuss in tomorrow's session. So right now, what you guys have to do, already the people who are done, that's good. So whatever approach you have followed, that's fine. Now, if you think that there is some other approach also to do it, then try to do that approach also. Just for practice purpose, try to implement that in the different approach also. For example, let's assume that you have completed this task using context API or maybe props. Then try to practice with Redux. If you're done with Redux, try to practice with context API or props. Or if you have some other way, try to find out. And the people who are not done, at least do up to here. Design everything and just send a request to your GitHub server, get the details, and at least show in the console first. Once the data is able to get into the console, then from there we can share that data with our components using different techniques we have. Okay. So once we have done with this part, in tomorrow's session itself, like within 15 minutes, we will complete this. Then I will start with carousel part. I will explain about the carousel component and model component in Bootstrap. So once carousel and model components are done, then we will explore about next set of components. So maybe carousel and model will itself will take tomorrow's entire session. So that we will learn. So once I explain about the carousel, then that carousel you can implement in your home page. Yeah, that's all guys from my end. So I will push this code. So just go through this and just try to implement it. The people who already implemented, try some other techniques. You might have done with one technique. Now try to do with some other technique.